This is Tom Duty, middle-aged American, living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search for my site. This is Resign Now. This program is very similar to things I've done many times before, but for some reason it just became more difficult. And I've had some startup troubles. The concept is that I'll solicit people to come here and make a case for someone to resign. Inspired by Noam Chomsky, talked about democratization. When the people speak to the elite, the political elite, the corporate elite, the business elite, the people get a voice. So I have made a personal commitment to do this. An hour a week. Until an hour a week through the winter time. I'm trying to create a program, an established program where people could, angry people, they want someone to resign. It could be a low-level person as low as a retail store supervisor. And it could be a congressman, a congresswoman, a senator, a member of President Trump's cabinet. Kind of be silly to go for a member of President Barack Obama's cabinet. And this thing will morph and take its own shape, and I would certainly welcome foreign targets also. That wasn't my original idea. Although it could be, anyways, it could be. So I'm soliciting 3 categories. One is someone behind the scenes who would help me just do the tech. Like right now, for example, I can't, here we go. I can't figure out how to click. So I'm going to run through my gig, a full cycle, and then I'm going to try to call my wife because she should be commuting home soon. So again, I'm soliciting 3 categories of people. This is a full trash can. Push that down a little bit. Soliciting 3 categories of people. One is someone behind the scenes just to help me. What that means, I don't know. That person could be anonymous to everyone, and even anonymous to me. It could be one of those Google profiles that doesn't have an identity, has a pseudonym. Category B, someone to participate in the program on stage with me. That does not mean physically here with me. It means presenting in voice. This program as it stands right now, it's a one-man show, so when I'm not talking, nobody's talking. Someone finds this live stream, clicks on it, it seems like there's nothing going on because nobody's talking. I'm trying to avoid that. To avoid it right now, I have to keep talking. So I would like some help, someone to share the stage with me, be present in voice. Category C is someone calling for the resignation of a man or woman who, by his or her account, is using power irresponsibly. Make a case for that person to resign. As part of this program, I will make an attempt to contact that person to have him or her make a case. Maybe they could come to the program and announce their resignation. That'd be kind of fun. But they could also defend themselves. That's the first time through the cycle. I'm going to attempt to... First time through the cycle, I'm going to attempt to... My phone might not handle this. Yeah, see, this click is going to take me to Hangouts, and I'm already in Hangouts doing this program. Oh. This is really risky. I'm switching to a different... Google account. This is way too advanced for this cell phone and its operator. Testing. So I think I just sent a text to my wife to tell her to call. A phone call is the only way I get notice while doing this. All my observation notifications are turned off. And my phone's too occupied with this program to be able to monitor. This is Resign Now. Concept is to have an established program where people could come to call for someone's resignation. And so how would that get established? Well, maybe someone establishes it, and I am proposing that that person be me. Establishing this by a personal commitment to do this once a week for an hour, or until my wife calls from the bus, which is calculated to be about an hour. So I have made a personal commitment to do this an hour a week through the winter. You know, if I don't get any of the target people I'm soliciting by the time the weather gets warm, then it's time to reconsider this program. If I gutted it out through a whole winter and get nobody who I'm targeting, then there's potentially a concept problem or a presentation problem. So here's the idea. I am soliciting participation in 3 categories. Category A, someone to help me behind the scenes. Tonight, I'm trying to monitor my chat to and someone that could maybe send a few tweets. Tell me if my mic dies. Someone behind the scenes, category A. Category B is someone on the stage with me in voice. I'm not soliciting for a physical presentation. It'd be kind of fun, but it's not an expectation. That first person can be anonymous. Even anonymous to me, that could be a profile with a pseudonym. I don't need to know who you are. So that is truly behind the scenes, even behind the scenes and anonymous. Second category is someone to share the stage with me in voice. Share the stage is a phrase that you're sharing the presentation. I kind of feel like I'm on a stage. However, you do not need to be here physically. You could be anywhere with Wi-Fi, a laptop, or even a cell with good 3G, 4G cell service is sufficient. I'm doing Google Hangouts. I can invite your Google account and get your voice on here from a cell. The concept is social activism, so political activism. So the idea is that's why I'm doing it on the street. You know, this trash can is kind of fun. A liquor store protest happened on the street. That's why I feel I need to be out here. And even with the coming cold weather, I plan to be out here. Testing. This is Resign Now. The concept is an established program has a repetitive pattern. Someone who is angry could call for the resignation of someone, and this could be the forum for him or her to call for that resignation. The target would be someone who is perceived to be misusing power. I'm soliciting participation in 3 categories. Category A, someone to help me behind the scenes. And that person can be anonymous, even anonymous to me. That could be one of those pseudonym Google profiles. I can't think of any reason I would need to hear the person's voice. Amigo. Amigo. Not yours? Category A, someone to help me behind the scenes. Category B, someone to contribute, participate in this program by being present in voice. That can be a Wi-Fi or a 3G, 4G cellular signal and a phone. I do not need to use your camera. I plan to freeze it on this scene. This scene is consistent with the program I'm attempting to communicate, and that is social activism, political activism. Category C, someone angry calling for someone else's resignation. Person who's a target of resignation, a resignation target is someone who is perceived to be misusing the power he or she has been trusted with. And this program is an attempted startup to create an established program where someone could come to call for a resignation. Resign Now. I have a personal commitment to do this once a week through the winter. Resign Now. I have a personal commitment to do this once a week through the winter. I am attempting to establish a program that would be a place for someone to come and be heard why someone should resign. Person obviously is perceived, at least by one person, as misusing the power he or she has been given. Resign now. I have a personal commitment to do this 1 hour a week through the winter. I'm soliciting participation in 3 categories. Category A, someone to participate with me someone to participate behind the scenes. That person could even participate and be anonymous. So participate's kind of the wrong word, but contribute behind the scenes. Participate sounds like you're, out there in name and face and voice. That is not the idea of category A. Category B is someone to be present in voice with me. At the moment, this is a one-man show, so if someone clicks onto this live stream and hears nothing, it's because Tom Duty is not talking. I would like to have a backup. Be fun to have a couple of people. I think I can have as many as 10. According to Google. Category C is someone who is calling for the resignation of someone who they see, someone that he or she sees as misusing power. This is an attempt. This is a startup. This is a launch to create an established program where someone sees someone else misusing power and wants to call for that person's resignation. Now, the inspiration to do this comes from a number of different sources, but here in the US, we have democracy, we have a vote, and this election became so twisted with the negative ratings of both candidates being at a historically record high. And so the vote is one way to be heard, but the voter turnout was not impressive. The campaign consumed the social mental energy of the country for a longer period of time than any campaign in history. I believe that to be true. There were talks of it starting earlier. And then the voter turnout was like, nobody cares. Or the people who did care were so angry they couldn't vote for anyone. Nonetheless, people want to be heard. And I think calling for resignation is relatively easy. Because as soon as a person in power gets targeted, the people at low status of society have a tendency to defend one another. Unions is an established, systematic, institutionalized organization. And there's a creed to defend one's union brother, one's union sister. But at the top, there's no such loyalty. And I held positions at reasonably high level of corporate authority as a food scientist. And you're popular when you have formalized power, you have authority. But it's for me, suddenly losing the authority I had. And in a blink, I lose who I thought were friends. So that's the idea, to leverage this relative fragility of people who hold positions, high authority and power in corporate and politics call for their resignation because nobody will defend them. It's lonely at the top. So if the people want to be heard, look at the civil rights march of the 60s, culminating with the murder of Martin Luther King in 1968. This was brutal social uprising, murder of both blacks and whites, and eventually the murder of its leader, Martin Luther King. Terrible social turbulent times, not peaceful. An incredible effort is needed to sustain important change, but relatively small effort is needed to call for someone to resign. So I want people who hold power to use it responsibly, knowing if they don't, their grip on that power can be released. Their grip on that power can be challenged. They can be singled out. They can be targeted and ultimately resign. And these people who resign, especially people that once held positions at high levels of power, they generate an enormous amount of cash. The Stumped, he ends up being the, if let's say Stumped, let's say this program I'm doing, Resign Now, is successful. And I ended up being a host of a program where someone, these things rumble on the internet first, but let's say I caught it relatively early and all of a sudden I was, ¿Cómo está? And all of a sudden I was part of this movement, and next thing you know, in a blink, John Stumped, I think his name was John Stumped, resigns. Well, he's the victim of my program. And you know what? I could rest easy. Stumped is seen as misusing power, substantial evidence that he had misused power. I would be gracious and kind and inviting to get Mr. Stump. Mr. Stump has already resigned, by the way. I would be gracious and kind and inviting to get Mr. Stump to make his case on this program. He may or may not have accepted my offer, and suddenly he resigns. There's no reason to feel bad for Mr. Stump. There is reason to feel bad, but certainly in the travesties of victims, a victim of someone who resigns unnecessarily is a worthy victim. Resign Now. The concept is that I will establish a program through hour-long weekly commitment to do this once a week for an hour in an attempt to get participation in 3 categories. Category A, someone to participate, contribute, someone to contribute behind the scenes. That person could be anonymous. I could have someone who is behind a Google program, and not only does anyone on the internet need to know who they are, I think they're going to have to be known by their internet pseudonym, Google pseudonym, but I don't need to know who's behind that profile. So I could have anyone. So contribute behind the scenes, even an anonymous contribution behind the scenes. Category A. Category B, someone to participate in voice with me. At the moment, this is a one-man show, so when I'm not talking, it's silent. If someone clicks in, notices a live stream, and clicks in, oh, I'm curious, and it's silent. You know, is it dead? Is it malfunctioning? Is it over? Nobody knows. They don't care. They click away. Hola, amigo. So that's category B, someone to participate in voice with me, so that this is no longer a one-man show. It could be a man or a woman participating by Wi-Fi or 3G, 4G. I only need a voice. I do not need a cam. Category C is when the program begins to meet its goals, and that is someone who calls for the resignation. I often take for granted the comfort I have on the internet, and to be out here right now and have this program that is a startup. It is 100% my idea, and I'm comfortable doing this. Well, not everyone is, and someone who's not comfortable I'm going to go for about 15 more minutes, bringing this program to a close, sort of close to an hour. My goal is to do it for an hour, but that does not mean exceed an hour. It means about an hour. Something sort of close but short of an hour feels like I'm keeping my personal commitment. The reason, listeners, that I'm doing this long and painful and cold process is that I saw it again. I had a friend, and Facebook's notice is even misleading. It says, it's JC. JC is the guy who became my friend in a traditional sense, and he's a pedicab driver, and he's a friend of mine on Facebook, and it says JC is live now. I click on it. As far as I can tell, he was live yesterday. He was at a concert and seemed to be doing Facebook Live. And Facebook doesn't do a very good job of telling you that it's over. At least I haven't figured it out yet. So it's my hope that if someone finds this program, gets interested enough to click, then it won't be over, because no one can join it before it starts. And if they click during the program, having a bigger target has a great ability for success.
Gonna go to war with Trump?
Yeah. The most I know about that guy, he's an NFL fan. He just asked me if I'm going to war with Trump. The joke is that I'm in a coveralls, and they're camouflaged. They're camo coveralls, and they are Army surplus, so they're the real deal. And they're just, there is not an insulative layer, yet they are very warm. So I am equipped to do this through the winter. So the idea of doing it through the winter, the idea of keeping a commitment to do 1 hour a week, again, is to have a bigger target. And all right, I'm going to go till 6 o'clock. To have a bigger target, so if someone clicks on the link, they will hear someone talking and see. I know that on the Google link, unlike Facebook, I know that when you click on it, it says live. And I've clicked on many that are live. Facebook is new, but Google's Hangouts has been doing this for a long time. So if I attract the attention of someone, I want them to click, I want it to say live, I want to be live, and I want to have a voice. Right now, that voice is only mine, because this is currently a one-man show. This program cannot achieve its goals if it remains a one-man show, a one-person show. So I am soliciting contributions from 3 categories. Category A is someone to participate, someone to contribute behind the scenes. And that person can even be anonymous. It could be a pseudonym, Google profile, and I do not need to know who that person is. I think some exchange of text. I do not even need to hear that person's voice. I'm pretty sure about that. So category A, someone to participate, someone to contribute behind the scenes. Someone to contribute in voice. Right now, 100% of I want to have, if someone clicks on this program and I'm live, I want them to hear someone talking. Right now, that can only be me. So category B is someone to contribute in voice. Wi-Fi is not needed. Laptop is not needed. A cell signals for 3G, 4G is sufficient. I do not need a webcam. I need someone to contribute, participate in voice. The third category is where the program begins to achieve its goals, and that is someone who wants to call for the resignation of someone, and it can be anyone. It can be a principal. It can be a police officer. It can be a supervisor of a corporate food chain. But certainly my goal is to hire company CEOs, elected officials, mayors, governors, senators, congressmen, congresswomen. The program would begin to achieve its goals if I got one of those. The concept is my own collage of thinking, collection of other ideas, probably the biggest and freshest contribution from the writings of Noam Chomsky. This idea of social political activism comes at a price. Huge physical activity, gathering, a byproduct of the social political move can be death, destruction, injury, vandalism, murder, imprisonment. The price is high. Hey, amigo, how are you? The cost of this type of program is very high. So in contrast, this program is really easy, and yet it is the masses, the people without high levels of status, calling for the resignation of someone in power in corporate leadership, business leadership, some position of authority, an elected official. Because I found that those resignations seem to come relatively easy. No one goes to jail. No one gets murdered. There's a digital lynch mob. Person gets signaled out. Suddenly they're a dead man walking. Everyone runs from him or her. And bing, you got a resignation. Stumped of Wells Fargo is the highest level and most recent one I can think of. And that one was just beautiful. It seemed to happen mostly to credit. If one person were to be credited, it would be Elizabeth Warren. Is the person I would credit. There's probably others who deserve credit for donation. She did it in a beautifully scripted, researched, nicely articulated, effective way. face-to-face with Stump. It was just awesome. And within days, he resigned from CEO of one of the nation's most important banks. So I'm soliciting participation in 3 areas. Category A is contribution behind the scenes. That contribution can even be anonymous. It could be behind a Google profile with a pseudonym, and I can work with that. I don't even need to know who you are, and if I don't know, nobody knows. The category, that's category A. Contribute behind the scenes. Category B, participate in voice. And that can be by cell, 3G, 4G, or Wi-Fi. I do not need a cam. Just a voice. At the moment, it's a one-man show. If someone clicks into this live stream and hears nothing, it's because Tom Duty's not talking. So I'm trying to reduce the pressure. It'd be nice to like take a break, warm my hands. I have a jump rope, listeners. My laptop has the active cam. I have the active microphone here, the active cam on a laptop. The laptop sits on top of a Home Depot bucket, and in the bucket is a jump rope. So it'd just be awesome if I could have someone else talk for a few minutes. I could stick the cell phone in my pocket and jump rope. This would get me through the winter. It would be great. So that's one example of giving me a break. I am prepared to go through the winter without that assistance, but it sure would be nice to have it. And category C is someone who is calling for a resignation. And with that, it is 6 o'clock, so I'm going to end this. All right, this is the end of Resign Now. I've made a personal commitment to do this 1 hour a week through the winter time. And it's not even very cold yet, and it's already not easy, but I have done the calculations. I should be equipped and ready to gut this out through the winter, provided my equipment can handle the cold. I will be equipped to handle the cold. And yeah, my battery just drained. Oh, no, it didn't. This has been Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search for my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, or restful night's sleep. Ciao.